In a small village where people lived simply but with a dash of cunning in their dealings, a lawyer known for his knack for finding loopholes in any agreement decided to do business with a professor. The lawyer, a man of quick speech and sharp wit, owned a well on his property, an ancient stone well that had provided crystal-clear water for generations. He knew that the professor, a cultured and reserved man who had just moved to the village, needed water for his new home. So, with a confident smile, the lawyer made him an offer. "Professor, I'll sell you my well for a fair price. It's a relic, and the water is the best in the region." The professor, a man of few words, but with a perceptive gaze, accepted the offer. The deal was sealed, and the well became the professor's. 2 days later, the lawyer, with his haughty posture and a tone that blended charm with provocation, showed up at the professor's door. "My dear professor," he began, adjusting his hat with a theatrical gesture, "I think we need to clarify an important detail. I sold you the well, that's true, but not the water inside it. The well is yours, but the water... Well, the water still belongs to me. If you want to use it, you'll have to pay extra." He crossed his arms, pleased with his own cleverness, expecting the professor to be stunned or annoyed by the twist. But the professor didn't flinch. He listened to the lawyer's words with calm, as if analyzing a philosophical question in one of his lectures. The lawyer's cunning, which might have angered others, seemed to the professor an opportunity to teach a deeper lesson. He knew that greed, when misdirected, often turns against the one who wields it. And more than that, he understood that true intelligence doesn't win arguments through shouting or manipulation. It shines by using logic and serenity to reveal the flaws in others' intentions. The professor adjusted his glasses, took a step forward, and responded with a tranquil smile. "I see, my dear lawyer. In fact, I was just about to come to you to discuss this." The lawyer raised an eyebrow, intrigued. The professor continued, "If the water still belongs to you, as you say, then I suppose you'd want to remove it from my well, correct? After all, the well now belongs to me, and if the water wasn't part of the deal, it shouldn't be taking up my space." The professor's tone was calm, almost friendly, but his words carried an irrefutable logic. The lawyer, who until then had felt in control of the situation, began to feel the ground beneath him crumble. He hadn't expected the professor, with his quiet demeanor and reserved ways, to respond with such clarity. The lawyer's greed, which had led him to try to profit more from the deal, was now backfiring. The well, after all, was nothing without the water, and the professor knew that. But instead of reacting with anger or confrontation, the professor chose a wiser path. He used the lawyer's own logic to expose the inconsistency of his claim. The lesson here wasn't just about the well or the water. It was about how true intelligence doesn't need tricks to prevail. It shines through simplicity and truth. The lawyer, still reeling from the professor's response, tried to maintain his composure, but his confidence was faltering. The professor, with his serene smile, continued, "If the water is yours, as you claim, then I see no issue. But in that case, you'll need to remove it from my well as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'll have to start charging you rent for the water occupying my property, starting tomorrow, let's say." He paused, looking at the lawyer with an expression that blended kindness with firmness. "After all, if the well is mine, I shouldn't be storing something that belongs to someone else without being compensated, right?" The professor's logic was flawless, and the lawyer realized it immediately. What he had thought was a brilliant move, a way to profit more at the professor's expense, had now turned into a problem he couldn't solve. How could he remove the water from the well? And more importantly, where would he take it? The idea of paying rent for the water he claimed as his own was absurd, and the lawyer knew his attempt at manipulation had been exposed. The professor didn't need to raise his voice or accuse him of bad faith. He simply used logic, calm, and a touch of humor to turn the tables, showing that greed, when poorly planned, often backfires on the one who pursues it. The lawyer, now visibly nervous, began to stammer. "Oh, well, I was just joking, Professor. No need to take it so seriously." He let out a forced laugh, trying to mask his embarrassment while adjusting his hat once more. The professor, still with the same tranquil smile, simply nodded. "Understood, my friend. Then it's all settled. The water and the well are mine, as agreed." The lawyer, out of arguments, bid a hasty farewell and left in a hurry, clearly relieved to avoid the consequences of his own misguided cunning. The story of the lawyer and the professor teaches us a valuable lesson. True wisdom doesn't lie in manipulating or deceiving to gain an advantage, but in using intelligence with integrity. The lawyer tried to be clever, but his greed blinded him to the simplicity of the truth. The professor, on the other hand, didn't need tricks or confrontation to win the dispute. He used logic, calm, and a hint of humor to expose the lawyer's inconsistency. This is the power of true intelligence. It doesn't need shouting or manipulation to prevail. It shines through clarity, serenity, and the ability to turn an adverse situation into a lesson. More than that, the professor's response reminds us that sometimes the greatest strength lies in not giving in to provocation. He could have been angered by the lawyer's attempt to alter the deal, could have argued or demanded justice aggressively, but instead he chose calm and logic, showing that the best response to manipulation isn't confrontation, but clarity. The story of the well isn't just about water or property. It's about how we deal with those who try to deceive us, and how patience and intelligence can turn a dispute into a life lesson. Just like the well, which holds its water in silence, the professor's wisdom teaches us that sometimes the greatest victories are won without a fight, but with the strength of a well-placed reasoning. The professor's clever response reminds us that true wit doesn't need tricks. It shines through integrity and logic. How do you handle those who try to outsmart you? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep exploring life's lessons together. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for more stories that make you think.